Hello, my name is Andy Moore and I'm the Distinctions Manager, and I'm joined today with Hazel Frost. Welcome, Hazel.
Thank you, Andy.
And this is the last of our 4 videos that we're doing about the criteria. And this one is communication and it covers presentation. So if I share my screen, Hazel, we'll go to the criteria, which is available on the website. And as you can see, we're split into A, B, C, and we've done 3 videos already, one on technical, one on artistic and communication visual narrative. And the last one we're doing is actually on presentation. And this has only got 2 bullet points here. So presentation, you must show a balanced and cohesive presentation.
Yes, the presentation is the way you show the assessor your portfolio, and a well-balanced portfolio can really showcase your technical ability, your artistic ability, your visual awareness, your choice of color, your use of color. All this can be added together to show a balanced and cohesive presentation layout, and there are templates for this on the website, and it's really up to you how you use that. And we see all sorts of different combinations of 2 or 3 rows to produce a balanced and cohesive presentation. Balance is not just about where you place your images in the positions 1 to 10, but it also looks at what type of images you use, the color and the tonality of those images, and the composition of those images. Applicants often ask whether they have to be all of one format, whether they can use various formats. And again, the choice is up to the applicant. Aspect ratios of each image can be chosen, but it needs to be chosen and put in a position that it balances the presentation so that there is visual harmony. So if you want to do a panel that's all square format, of course you can do that. You can have a panel that's got 1 square format, and that would obviously have to be in the middle because it was on its own. But a presentation that's going to balance will have those aspect ratios balancing across the row. And it's great fun to play with presentation layouts and work out what works, because you immediately see that if you have, for example, 2 portrait type images, they will need to sit in similar positions on the row. So there's quite an art to getting your balance right in your presentation layout. But it's not just about the format, it's about the color composition, the lighting, the choice of monochrome. You want those to balance within the layout of your body of work. So you may have a very central image that's very graphic, it's very central, it's very clearly in the center of the frame, very individual image. You might choose to put that in the center of your panel because you might find that if it's so different, it can't sit anywhere else. You might find that you want to link color together. You don't want to be jumping from a color that's very bright to a color that's very subdued, a color that's very bright to a monochrome. You want it to show that you've thought exactly where you place each of those individual images within those templates, within those options to you for laying out those 10 images. And people will often make use of, for example, triangles. So monochrome images may form a triangle. You may find that people will use bright images to form a triangle, or a use of certain colors. You might find that there's a more subdued row and a brighter row. So there's all sorts of ways that you can balance a presentation, but it needs to be thought about and considered as to how that's done. There needs to be clarity with that, as well as there is with everything else. And cohesion is that consistency across your body of work. That, it can be achieved with your editing style, your techniques, your color palette, the mood you're trying to convey, your storytelling approach. All sorts of different elements can add together to get that cohesion within your body of work that's presented as effectively the 11th image, the presentation layout that we look at.
Yeah, I think it's a real skill, isn't it? Putting a body of work together and presenting it in a way that really displays your 10 images to the best that you can. I think it's quite a skill that's people don't really understand how important it actually is part of our criteria.
Yes, and I think that if you go to an advisory day or you have a one-to-one, you can often find that you're advised to move maybe just 1 image or 2 images, and it can add so much strength to a panel of work just by where you place those images. For me, I think it's great fun. There's not definitely any right, there's not definitely any wrong, but you know what works and you know what doesn't work. It's also important, perhaps, in getting that balance and cohesion, is not to be too attached to 1 image. So don't necessarily think that this is my favorite image, it must go in. This has been a successful image in some other situation, therefore it must go in. It might be that that image just does not balance what you're trying to show us. So don't be frightened to throw all the different files into the mix and then rearrange them all, because with time it'll come to a pleasing presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember a licentiate advisor saying to me one time, even if you print out 6x4 images, prints of your images, and then even put them on your bedroom floor or on your bed and start moving the images around. And exactly what you said, it's amazing when you start moving images around, just moving one image or two or three images completely changes the look of the portfolio. So it's certainly worth spending some time on that and making sure. And again, if you can, book a one-to-one and gain some advice from assessor, because I know assessors love moving images around. It's one of the elements they do enjoy, and I know they're very good at it as well because they know the impact it can have. And the last one is a diverse range of approaches, skills, and techniques.
Yes, I mean, this takes us right back to the beginning, and it's wanting us to know that you can take your image and you can make your image, and then also that you can present your image. So we're looking to see that you can handle your camera, that you can show us different use of light, different use of shutter speed, depth of field, different use of color, creativity, monochrome if appropriate, that you can think about your decisive moment, and that each of your images is trying to showcase us perhaps a different facet of all those different skills, that we can see that you're thinking as a photographer, that you're creative, and that you're able to give us that compelling visual narrative through your images. And your diverse range is something that then adds to your cohesion and your consistency. They all interrelate with each other, and that's why we assess them all as the different criteria, but they all relate with each other. And if you can understand what you're trying to tell us and how to use your camera and what makes up a visually aware image, then you're going to be able to give us that diverse range of approaches and skills. We do find a question that we often get is that somebody, for example, enjoys landscape, enjoys the natural world. Can they create a licentiate panel in a single genre? And the answer is yes, you can, as long as you're showing us that diversity of technique and subject matter, lighting, skill. Equally well with portraiture or photographing people, we've seen some very successful bodies of work using those kind of subjects. But you have to, within that, show all those other elements that we've talked about in the other videos. Sadly, we sometimes see some very strong individual images, very strong body of work from people who are perhaps working at a very high level in natural history, for example, but they may not be successful at licentiate, because one of the criteria is looking for that diverse range of approaches, skills, and techniques. So we're wanting you to avoid repetition. And I think, again, that's where a one-to-one can come into play, or listening to advice or looking at panels on the website. You may have the skills to do one genre, but at licentiate, that's not going to be successful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also, just to break one of the myths, I know that I get asked it all the time, and I think it's really good to say it on video. We don't need you to show us a wedding image, a natural history image, a portrait image. It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to show all different styles of photography or genres of photography, I should say.
Absolutely. I mean, you've only got 10 images, so you can't show all these things. But yes, we do get some people who think they've got to do a still life, they've got to do a studio, they've got to show artificial light, natural light, they've got to have a nighttime shot. You most certainly don't, because you can create your variety, your diverse range of approach with other facets that we've talked about. So play to your skills. Don't feel under pressure to put in an image that you wouldn't normally take, that you don't feel happy taking or lighting. Play to your skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the recommendation we have from a departmental point of view is definitely read the guidelines and the criteria document. It's a wealth of information in there. It gives you a lot of information that's helpful for you applying. Look at the website with all the licentiate pages. Obviously, you're watching these videos, which is absolutely great. And then once you've got that, have a look at the gallery page, look at the kind of examples that are successful, and look at the reasons why they're successful. And then finally, before you make a submission, we would definitely recommend having a one-to-one The pass rate of obviously have someone having a one-to-one is definitely a lot higher compared to someone who doesn't have a one-to-one. They can really help the assessor with some of these questions that are being asked of you. Okay, thank you, Hazel. I will stop sharing the video, and that's very much appreciated. That's all 4 videos done. Thank you very much. I think it's been really insightful, and I'm sure that will help out future applicants make a submission for the licentiate. And anybody does, we wish you all the best of luck. Thanks, Hazel.